So we start with the latest on the Democratic National Convention. Kamala Harris's running mate Tim Walz has given a combative speech on its third day of this convention in Chicago. He focused mainly on his life and career, but he also talked about the Republican policy agenda, which he said served the richest people and most extreme voices among Americans. He called it weird, wrong and dangerous. He accused Donald Trump of creating chaos and curating it like art. In contrast, he said Kamala Harris had the vision, experience and sheer joy to get things done. He reflected on his term as Minnesota's governor, painting a picture of what he would fight for as vice president.
Then I came back to serve as governor, and we got right to work, making a difference in our neighbors' lives. We cut taxes for the middle class. We passed paid family and medical leave. We invested in fighting crime and affordable housing. We cut the cost of prescription drugs and helped people escape the kind of medical debt that nearly sank my family. And we made sure that every kid in our state gets breakfast and lunch every day. So while other states were banning books from their schools, we were banishing hunger from ours. We also protected reproductive freedom because in Minnesota, we respect our neighbors and the personal choices they make. And even if we wouldn't make those same choices for ourselves, we've got a golden rule. Mind your own damn business.
And there were some other famous faces at the convention. Have a listen.
He's like one of those tenors opening up before he walks out on stage, like I did, trying to get his lungs open by singing me, 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 me. When Kamala Harris is president, every day will begin with you, 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 you.
Despite what some would have you think, we are not so different from our neighbors. When a house is on fire, we don't ask about the homeowner's race or religion. We don't wonder who their partner is or how they voted. No. We just try to do the best we can to save them. And if the place happens to belong to a childless cat lady, well, we try to get that cat out too.
Well, let's now join our correspondent who is at that convention in Chicago, Gary O'Donoghue. Hello again to you, Gary. So day 3 now has come to a close and Tim Walz really had to deliver today. It was his big speech. What are people saying about it? What's the reaction so far?
Well, the hall certainly loved him, didn't they? And they were geared up for it. They'd been sort of worked up all evening by a whole bunch of celebrity acts. Oprah you saw, and Stevie Wonder, John Legend, all these people creating a sort of party atmosphere down on the floor there where I was for a couple of hours. And to be honest, he did a pretty good job. His timing was good. He hit those right notes. All these things about being a high school teacher, a football coach, military service, all this kind of stuff plays really, really well in these parts of Middle America. And that's, of course, why he's on the ticket. This is here to deliver these parts of America for Kamala Harris in the November election.
Also, as well, I mean, as you say, he's ticking all the boxes. He talked about the fact that he's a gun owner, he has gun ownership, but he wants to see change. And it's sort of all these different areas, isn't it? It's sort of highlighting why Kamala Harris chose him.
Yeah, it's interesting. He kind of used that gun issue in two ways. He sort of said, you know, we need gun control because we don't want our children going to school and getting shot in the hallway, but also saying, by the way, I'm a pretty good shot, a lot better than these Republicans who favour, you know, unrestricted gun rights in the way they do. So he's kind of having it both ways in that sense, and that's going to work well, because when you come to this kind of political messaging, people hear the bit often they want to hear, and that's a very clever way of doing that on a very contentious issue.
Now, of course, all eyes will be on Kamala Harris as she delivers her speech to finish this convention. What are people saying to you ahead of that?
A lot of expectations, probably the biggest day of her political life so far. She's, you know, had a pretty good start to her campaign. They've raised a lot of money. They've had a lot of free media. They've got a lot of volunteers on board. But people now want to hear what she's going to do. They want to hear more about what she is as a person and what she plans to do if she gets into the White House. Because even though you're vice president for 4 years, it doesn't mean you're necessarily that visible. You're that much in the public eye. And so the voters are still getting to know her. And, you know, you're looking at 75 days or whatever to the election. That process has to start straight away, because if you have to say it once, you have to say it 1 million times before it sinks into whatever, 140, 150 million people who will cast their votes.
Indeed, a lot of people. Gary O'Donoghue, thank you once again.